back home in Dubuque, and here at the UAW. Why did you choose here to make a?
Well, Dubuque's my home, and so is Iowa, right? This is where I grew up. The folks that were here, actually many of them didn't know quite why they were showing up this morning yet, because we just announced this morning and just told them, we might be making an announcement, would love to have you here. And these are folks who, many of them, have volunteered hours and hours, who fought for working families by my side, and to get to make this announcement with my friends, my family, and literally my neighbors that I grew up with here in Dubuque, it was an incredible moment to just say, we're not going to walk away. We're going to keep this fight going, and we're going to make sure that we have representatives in the United States Senate who aren't going to forget about working families like the one that I grew up in, and that many of these folks have lived.
Sure. Next is the rest of the state, where a little less name recognition outside the district, a little less, maybe fewer connections. How do you, how quickly do you think you need to build those connections and relationships before?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm just excited. I am so excited to be out there and getting to talk to folks and hear their stories all over the state. Get to, again, know what's the things that helps their family that we need to be fighting for, what are the things that are standing in the way that we need to go fix. The one thing I really know about Iowa, I know a few things here, but the biggest thing is I don't think it really matters whether you live in rural Iowa, you live in the cities. Our values as Iowans are the same. And I think that we're going to be able to bridge that and talk about things that really matter, like respect, like the truth, like getting things done, and actually standing up for our democracy. Those things aren't supposed to be Democratic or Republican, and we're going to remind folks that they can send somebody to D.C. who's actually going to represent all of those.
You mentioned truth there, and you've spoken about trying to combat misinformation. How do you convince a person who is convinced by that misinformation already? They've heard the other side. What's your approach?
Yeah, and there are some folks who, if they're believing conspiracy theories and that's their thing, then that can be really tough. And that's where we actually really need Republican leaders to stand up and actually push back against that misinformation themselves. That's actually what I was hoping U.S. Senator Chuck Grassley would have done. In fact, not only did he not do that when it came to the lies around the election, he actually perpetuated some of them months later. And you see people like Senator Mitt Romney that stood up to it, Representative Liz Cheney. It often takes folks, again, standing up within their own party and talking about the truth. And so we're going to make sure that they know where I stand. And the fact that we haven't seen our senator, who I expected better from, do the same is part of the reason we're so concerned about where we're headed if we don't get folks actually paying attention and standing up for what really matters. And we're going to make sure that we get out there and talk to folks face to face so they know that this is real for me. This is not about some title. This isn't about power. This is about representing them and doing the job. That's what public service is. And I enjoy the service part of public service. It's why, again, I do this. It's why I'm fighting for them right now, and I won't quit.
There's a pretty massive, Republican national campaign of attack ads coming into Iowa, both in your congressional race and the Senate race, Joan Ernst's seat. Both of those, the Republicans in both of those races succeeded. So I guess, how do you defend against that this time around? Are you expecting that this time around? And what's the strategy there?
Yeah, I think about 2020 and the fact that I'm somebody who went to Washington and did exactly what I said I was going to do. I had the backs of working families. I pushed a transportation bill that actually showed up for rural Americans. I took on drug companies and fought for lower prescription drug prices. And when you do those types of things, they spend millions of dollars trying to take you out, and they succeeded. And And in 2022, I'm going to make sure that we have every resource we can get when it comes to making sure that our grassroots donors here in Iowa are with us. We do not do this alone. We need them to not give up on Iowa, to not give up on our communities, and to step up for democracy. And I'm going to make sure I make that case and that we run this campaign in a way that we are able to push back and actually talk about the truth, combat that misinformation, and actually do the work showing up and turning people out and getting them excited and hopeful again about what Iowa and our country is and can be.